Thank you so much for listening. If you find the CosmoFactory podcast useful, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and share your thoughts so even more cosmetic industry professionals can discover the CosmoFactory. I'm Deanna Utrusky. Please join me again next Tuesday for a new episode of the CosmoFactory podcast. This episode is about animal-free proteins. It's about the popularity of beauty made with milk, about the latest in molecular biology, ingredient development science, and production scale-up. And it's about the teamwork behind the scenes at an ingredient startup. On today's episode of the CosmoFactory podcast, I am speaking with several experts from VelozBio. Welcome to CosmoFactory.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. We're talking about more than one sort of science today, about both protein production and something called molecular farming. I'm going to assume that we all know a little bit about proteins. So my first question is simply, what is molecular farming?
Hi. Well, my name's Andres. I'm a bachelor in biotechnology engineering, and I'm here the Proteomics Manager at VelozBio. And well, putting it simply, molecular farming is mainly editing a plant so we can produce something specific. It could be a protein or it could be a compound of interest. And we leverage agriculture and crops to grow these plants, these edited plants, so we can extract something specific about them. And we can have higher yields and more productivity this way.
Perfect. And my understanding is that molecular farming is a type of what we would call genomic biotechnology, and precision fermentation is another type of genomic biotechnology and is perhaps more common in terms of ingredient production methodology in our industry right now. Can you explain how molecular farming is similar to or different from fermentation-based biotech?
Yes, of course. Yeah, you're right. Precision fermentation is another form of producing different types of biomolecules. However, the main difference is that precision fermentation usually utilizes microbes such as bacteria or fungi, and they grow them inside a bioreactor, which is this huge tank with liquid on it. So the bacteria or the microorganism can grow inside. And it's also producing this molecule of interest. And it differs. I mean, that way they are similar, but it differs in the sense that in molecular farming, you use whole plants or parts of the plant to create this molecule of interest. And while also costs are different, yields are different, and depending on the product you're trying to get out of, one system will be more favorable than the other. So I mean, there are pros and cons between both of them.
Sure. That makes sense. And as you suggested, precision fermentation often uses a yeast, a bacteria, these sorts of organisms. You're working with peas. I'm curious, are you using the seed or the plant like a sprout? And I want to know too, how did you choose peas? Is there something particular about peas in general or the varieties you're working with that make this type of ingredient production work well?
This question is for me. Hi, my name is Marypaz Hernandez, and I'm the manager of the Upstream department. And for this case, we are using the seeds. One of the reasons we use seeds is that the seeds are easily evolved and stored versus the whole plant. We can have the seeds confined in a small space, uh, while also working with whole plants. There's a, a difficulty behind transporting the logistics behind handling the whole plants, and they're also more susceptible to mechanical and environmental damage. So working with seeds allows us to keep our spaces smaller and just about handling the temperature and humidity. Other reason we also work with seeds is that versus a whole plant, well, most of its metabolism is going through photosynthesis, which is very energy expensive, and also production of seeds, which is the reproduction of plants. So working with the seeds allows us to utilize all this energy that will just go on to germination to hijack this pathway for the protein we want to, any given protein we want to produce, while the whole plant will give us lower yields to this characteristic of most of its energy going to photosynthesis. And to answer why we chose peas, in this case, we chose yellow peas because they have a higher protein and lower fat content than other pulses. And also there is the market side of it. Peas are more well known by the public and accepted. Uh, Although we don't dismiss the possibility of using other pulses, as we have done so in the past, and all of them have very different advantages, but all of them are very nutritious.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. And from what I've learned, molecular farming has been used in the pharmaceutical industry for a few decades now, but is becoming quite popular in food as well as in beauty, which is why we're talking today. Because we know that what may at first appear to be competition is really an indication of opportunity and demand in the marketplace, I will mention a couple of other cosmetic ingredient suppliers using molecular farming technology. I know of a French company called Core Biogenesis making recombinant proteins and peptides using molecular farming tech. And Korea-based INGR uses a molecular farming technology as well to produce a number of botanical actives, including viniferin, which other suppliers I think commonly source from grapevine sap. As you've suggested, and we may have inferred from my intro to this episode, your team is making proteins, and the first ingredient your company introduced to the cosmetic ingredient marketplace is a dairy protein. But clearly, since we've been chatting about peas, um, you're not making this with any dairy animals. And we know the vegan movement is very important in beauty right now, but so too are dairy ingredients. So I do want to share just a couple examples to put our conversation in some more context. There's a hair care brand called Morphos based out of Turkey that has a full line of milk therapy hair products formulated with 12 amino acids, all of which are derived from milk. In skincare, bath and body care, we have brands like Beek 1802 formulating with goat milk. I know of another brand called Bupharma making skincare and body care with milk from buffalo, the same sort of buffalo milk used to produce buffalo mozzarella. And I've seen brands formulating with donkey milk. I can't say for sure, but I would not be surprised if every type of milk that is being used as a beverage or in food is also being used to make beauty products today. You're not making biotech milk. You're making a milk protein, proteins called caseins. Tell me about caseins and why are these the proteins you chose to produce and go to market with first?
Thank you, Diana. I will take this one. This is Margarita López. Everyone calls me Maggie, and I'm the CTO of the company, and I can respond easily this
Thank you.
this question because this is part of the soul of the company, of the history of the company. When we started like 4 years ago as a startup, the first question was, which is going to be our protein? Which is going to be our vision? Our reason to be in this world of startups. So we started making a proof of concept using diverse proteins, but actually we were very focused on sustainability. And the first thing we wanted to think is to have a high impact. So we wanted to decarbonize a part of the emissions that are let's say made because of the cows and because of the farming. So we started thinking, how can we help with this problem? So we talked about their proteins, and caseins are very complex proteins, and this is something our platform is very it's very good to make too, because plants have a lot of proteins, a lot of complex proteins, and that can perform a lot of functions. And when we think on caseins, we just are not thinking on one protein. Imagine this: we have four different proteins, making a huge structure that is called micelle, that has amazing properties because you can make the milk, you can make cheese, you can make creams, you can make foams, you can have a lot of applications, and even for example, plastic recoverments and something like this. Uh, this is amazing. So we said, why not to take this challenge? Why not to make or to challenge the platform to make this a huge micelle? So we started with beans and chickpeas, and then with yellow peas, and we succeeded with this. So this is why we chose caseins, because it's challenging, it has an impact, and it's very helpful for the planet.
Yeah, excellent. That makes perfect sense. And you mentioned the functionality of caseins, but I'm curious particularly to learn about the function of caseins in hair care and skin care or other cosmetic.
Well, I'll answer that one. Caseins act as natural moisturizers and conditioners thanks to the ability to bring water and form a film on the surface of the skin, and thus preventing transepidermal water loss. And in the case of hair, it helps locking in the moisture and deliver amino acids that strengthen the hair shaft. Also, this film that caseins create helps shield the hair and skin from environment damage and pollution. In summary, they hydrate, protect, and repair, and also they are good for sensitive skin. All of this while being naturally derived. That's like being out caseins.
Yeah, perfect. And for my formulator friends listening, I do want to ask, are there any challenges with solubility from this ingredient?
You can take this one. Actually depends, because something we discovered in our process is that depending of the application, you can have combinations of these four proteins. If you have the four caseins, yes, of course, you will be challenged because of the solubility, because this is a property of the whole casein micelle. But you can have combinations. For example, if you use beta casein, it's very soluble in water. If you use a combination of beta and kappa casein, you can have very good emulsions, and you're not going to have any problem making emulsions or foams or things like this. So it depends on the application. It's the kind of casein that is suitable for this.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And I'll ask another question for folks who might be thinking about formulating with these sorts of ingredients. The cosmetic scientists I know seem to prefer the word odor, but I'm going to ask you, does your ingredient have any sort of dairy-like scent or a yellow pea scent to it?
This is a very good question, because this is something that had a challenge to us, like all the 4 years we have been here. Actually, we can say it could have a slight dairy note, and a slight, let's say, fresh, like grassy note. This is something, but it's very slight, because we need to take care of this, because if we think also in food market, we cannot have strong smells or strong flavors. We need to have a very neutral ingredient. So this is something we have been taking care of all the 4 years we have been working with caseins.
Yeah, and have you gotten other questions from formulators that you can share any notes on quickly?
Another questions for formulators, it's about for example, the performance, how it's working. For example, it's very different if we were making a shampoo or if we are making a cream or a serum. This is something that we have been challenged. Is this going to work for my formulation? And we try to work with the formulators to understand which is their base of the formula and how our ingredient performs when we apply, and we can have feedback, and we can provide the solution according to the formulation people is testing.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Now, before we finish our conversation today, I do want to go back to the production process. Like I have suggested, this molecular farming technology is newer for the cosmetics industry. I'm not going to ask you to share any technical secrets, but I'm hoping you can tell us how you were able to scale up production, and maybe you can describe some of the challenges you've had to overcome.
Yes, I can tell you about it. We have a lot of challenges, because when we start, and any startup starts in small batches at the lab, And we have our limitations about the equipment. That was the first challenge. When we went to some milligrams to grams and to kilograms, it's very different because we need different equipments with different challenges. For example, most of the scientists are not process engineers. We had to hire people to understand about equipments, about connections, about how can we make this production at scale. And the second is how can we adjust the process to have the same functionality when we think about kilograms than when we are working with milligrams. This is something we have been challenged. Now we are producing at scale of, let's say, 1-2 kilograms per month. We are on the stage of going to perhaps 1 or 2 tons per per month. So we are in this challenge right now.
No, that's interesting. And maybe you've just kind of answered my next question, but is there anything else you can say about the reliability of the process as you scale up?
Yeah, this is the main challenge, I think, because we have to validate that the process that we are scaling has the same functionality, the product, and that we comply with the regulations, that the safety and all the concerns we have for the product, the same at scale than in the lab.
Yeah. And I want to know too, before we finish here, what else is possible with molecular farming? Are there more beauty ingredients in the pipeline?
Yeah, for sure. We're thinking about peptides, about proteins such as elastin, collagen peptides. And if you have some request or you're curious to test if the platform can deliver any protein you are interested to, we are open to make the test.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And it sounds like what you've developed really does lend itself to peptides and proteins, this particular sort of ingredient. Whereas I mentioned earlier, we know molecular farming is being used for some other botanicals and that sort of thing, but your platform is specific to proteins. Is that what I'm hearing?
At the moment, we're focused on proteins, yeah.
Yes, it's also specific to proteins, but there are some things that we can also work in the future because we have, like you say, all these botanical extracts. And we have disclosed that not only we can deliver these proteins, they're usually like 90% pure. In our case, since it's coming from plants, these plants are also infused at the same time of these botanical extracts. Something that in the future we have to consider to study all these 10% behind of what is it and if it has more active biological functions. So it's very exciting. It's a very exciting future for us.
Yeah, that is exciting. Thank you so much. And Andres, Marypaz, Maggie, this was an amazing conversation. I thank you for helping us learn about using plants to create dairy proteins. And I thank you all for speaking with me today here on the CosmoFactory podcast.
Thank you for the invitation, Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you find the CosmoFactory podcast useful, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and share your thoughts so even more cosmetic industry professionals can discover the CosmoFactory. I'm Deanna Utrusky. Please join me again next Tuesday for a new episode of the CosmoFactory podcast.